Hi, Brenden. How are you on this fine Monday evening?
What's up, everybody? So that was fun.
I, was it fun? You sure?
No, no. Oh,
It's
I'm
fun for
sure that it
one side.
wasn't. Yep. Yep. Fun for the side you thought it would be fun for, probably. But not for our side, not for the side that we tend to talk about the most.
Feels like Mizzou fans probably feel like they lost to Kansas and Illinois in the same day.
Yeah, I mean, they basically did.
Yeah.
Watching that Kansas game was the first game against like a top 25 real good opponent. Um, and they weren't competitive in that game. I thought Illinois was better than Kansas leading into that game. I definitely think it after today, but I think both games were really more about what Missouri isn't than what those other teams are. I am viewing this through that pessimistic lens, I suppose, that yep, we talked a lot about not really seeing very many tests for Mizzou and knowing what they might be made of because of the way the non-con was scheduled. Maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe you were hiding from something because you knew if you're Dennis Gates, what could be coming. I don't necessarily think that was the case coming in, but it's certainly the case now that this team is just not on par with some of that type of competition.
Well, and and we'll get into it, but they Dennis Gates has scheduled like this before, and it was with teams that made the NCAA tournament, but and I'm not trying to say this team is like right now they've shown nothing to show that it is. I don't think he schedules based on how he thinks his team is.
I think
I
one year
just
he
think
did. Was there the one year where he talked about having a bunch of new faces? It might have been the 0-18 year, but I can't remember
well,
offhand.
that was it, the 0-18 year. They actually they gave some non-conference challenges in that one.
They
That's
were
really the
tougher that
only
year.
year that we've seen that from Gates out of four
So
years.
last year,
Last year,
last year was maybe the year where they didn't as much. I can't recall.
so they opened with Memphis on the road, which is a good one, but then
Yeah.
everything between then and I think the Kansas game was just all bye games, whatever you want to call them. Like that's what it was. But I mean, and this is basically the same thing. You throw in a power four opponent in Minnesota. You basically stand pat with the other existing deals that you have,
Which, I mean, that was an
and roll with it.
existing deal too. The Minnesota was a return game. So,
Sure,
like, that
uh,
was already scheduled before he
right.
knew about this year's roster, I guess I would say.
So I mean, yeah, but this one has told us the least amount, or at least the least good amount of what Mizzou's team is. Anyway, we're here live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter for the knee-jerk reactions after Mizzou's 91-48 loss to Illinois, the
Wow.
largest margin of victory in this series history, 43 points. It surpassed the 32-point win that Illinois had back in 2005. And so that's what Mizzou now has to uh, hang on their record at the moment. If you want to join us, do so by leaving a comment here. You can also leave us a voicemail on the KTGR app if you have that handy. If you do, thanks. If not, it's free. We like free things, don't we? Go and download the KTGR app and you'll get another free thing. And you can find a way to interact with us by leaving us a voice message here. But yeah, tell us your feelings, your thoughts, your ramblings, your rants about Mizzou basketball at this stage.
Yeah, mine aren't pleasant. I feel like a lot of people's aren't pleasant. I tweeted about it, Andy. You know how during football games, sometimes on Twitter, I get kind of fired up. I
Oh,
get
ever
real
so
excited
often.
every so often, and I say something that maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but there's certainly emotion behind it. I don't have that for this Mizzou basketball team. It died the
Wow.
night of the SEMO game, and I came on our show the next day, and I was like, nope, they're not doing it to me this year. I'm not going to get to a point where I emotionally invest in this to the level that I would say a Mizzou football season like this year or like I was last year during Mizzou basketball. And it kind of dawned on me as I got a reply on Twitter tonight where a fellow by the name of Jeff said, "Is it time to have a conversation about Gates?" And I said, I feel as though the conversation's already been had because there's no mystery here. I think Dennis Gates will have to recruit at an otherworldly level to compensate for what he lacks when it comes to in-game coaching, X's and O's. And Andy, at some point, maybe he'll be able to do that. We know Jason Crow Jr. is signed up already for next year. This wasn't the year where he was able to do that, and I'm already talking about it in the past tense. But then there's this notion of, like, if I'm talking about Mizzou basketball this way before Christmas, what does that say about the state of the program? And I'm not saying that I am reflective of Joe Mizzou fan by any means, but, like, I'm a guy that gets real fired up about the team. I follow it very closely, and this was bragging rights in my city, and I was going, I kind of know what's going to happen, so I'm not really going to, and I feel as though that should be a problem for Mizzou in the way that they view this basketball program. But it's kind of what it is. Like, there's no spite in it. I just know what to expect this year, and I'm not proud of that. I'm not high on that.
Maybe it gets us to what we'll start with here. Should we be surprised by tonight? Like, the fact that it was so lopsided, not even necessarily the fact that they lost. We both predicted them to lose. I believe both of us by double digits. I believe both of us by at least like 14, 15 points. Like,
it was 16 or so.
Here. Yeah. Like Mizzou, we didn't think Mizzou could hang with Illinois' offense much. And Illinois showed that. They're a very efficient team. They got really good open looks, and they were able to hit them, I think, more than what their season average was. That they ended up at 45% for the game. They averaged 34 coming in. So they had an awesome offensive night, but that's to be expected. And Mizzou, well, I think for the most part, when teams are able to score in bunches against them, which we've seen in the games that mattered for them so far, they at least can put up some fight offensively. But, I mean, obviously the Kansas game was an example of them just everything falling apart. And then this, where it falls apart and then some. I don't know what the next step is down from falling apart, but that's what happened here. And it just seemed that they were competitive for 12 minutes, and then Illinois goes on their first 11-2 run, and there's no recovery. None.
Yeah.
There's no stops strung together. There's no back-to-back 3 sequences. Absolutely no pushback after the first real punch was thrown in this game by Illinois' run toward, like, a little bit past the midway point of the first half, and just no response. And so, like, on either end of the floor either, like, we at least maybe see some guys hit shots by that point. But here, top to bottom, things just unraveled. And I don't know how Sebastian Mack finished with 17 points, Brenden, but he did.
I don't know either. I wasn't watching by the end.
Yeah, like, it's just that Anthony Robinson, I mean, maybe the best news of the second half was that he came back from the knee injury that nicked him up in that second half. They came back out on the floor, but then Mark Mitchell comes off. And I believe Gabe DeArmond had the tweet of, like, that he was within earshot of Mark Mitchell saying that his back locked up. So we don't know about that situation. Hope the best, obviously, for your best player.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like Brenden,
you can forget about it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But like Brenden, we thought they would lose by maybe 20-point loss.
20 would have been like the Kansas game, similar, right?
What we expect, it's a blowout, but maybe in garbage time things get a little bit closer. The team goes up by as many as 30. Mizzou pushes back a little bit. Here, there was just lay down for almost the entire second half.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just like Illinois exposing Mizzou's defense. Mizzou had a well-rated offense coming in, according to KenPom, and they just couldn't. I mean, it's the same song and dance every single time they're facing these more quality opponents. They don't have the scores. They don't have the creativity. They don't have the half-court movement, the spacing. They're going to come up short. You said I don't know what comes after falling apart. I think it's the realization that it's just over. Like, conference play has not begun, and I've got no belief that this team is going to show us anything this season. I think it's done. Maybe you get some pieces back. For whatever reason, Dennis Gates was telling people that maybe Jaden Stone and Trent Pierce are going to play as of yesterday. Didn't happen. Maybe you get those guys back soon though, and it looks different. But I think those guys are good 6 men, but they're not going to carry the whole thing by themselves. And I think whatever entity they would be rejoining is not enough to expect this sudden transformation from what we're seeing in the only opportunities that we've had to see this team play against good teams.
No, for sure. It's not at all what Mizzou wants it to be. And to be honest, at this point, we've learned nothing good in any of the games that Mizzou has played against meaningful opponents. So, I mean, when it comes to now what we learned from non-conference play, I think we learned that maybe some of these statistics that Mizzou has been building up in their predictive metrics, namely the offense, has to be taken with a grain of salt because it came against sub 250 KenPom teams.
Right. Mostly. You can't look at it at all.
Right.
Hey, would you guess, if you already knew, then the guess is going to be not very fair. Coming into today, where did Missouri rank in rebounding rate?
So like offensive rebounding rate.
Not offensive.
Or just in general.
And I found this on like a teamrankings.com stats site. So veracity, who knows?
Oh,
but their percentage, it's a percentage of the total
where do they
rebounds
rank nationally? Where they are? Oh,
before today.
Somewhere in the 150 range.
I don't even know if this is to be believed. I saw 10th in the country. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what I saw.
I mean, so I'll give you the KenPom numbers on it just for reference, where it stands now after this game.
And is this the KenPom metric that tells you how good they are at rebounding relative to competition?
It's rebounding percentage, but it separates it out by offense and defense. So with it after tonight, Mizzou is still 16th in the country in offensive rebounding percentage.
Okay, got it.
38.8%. Defensive rebounding is worse, but still top half of the country.
Yeah.
They're 111th at 28.9% on the defensive side. So, I mean, they are a long team. Today they just got bludgeoned by a really good rebounding team. Like maybe those numbers are a little bit disjointed, and Mizzou is being pegged as a better rebounding team than they are. But I don't think they're about as good as they were last year. And when they get good rebounding teams that they have to match up with, it's just a bad mismatch, and they can't usually keep up with that. And that's what happened tonight.
So before today, 57.4% was their rebounding percentage, not offensive or defense, just like of the total rebounds, they get 57.4% of them coming into today, which was 10th in the country. Okay. And now they're down to 24th in the country in that category after getting bludgeoned today. But you're thinking, how is that possible? All you guys do is talk about how bad they are at rebounding. It's possible because I'm just pulling up random games at this point. But in the Cleveland State game, they out-rebounded Cleveland State 41-22. They're building that cushion up against the also-rans. Against real teams, they are a bad rebounding team. 43-22 against South Carolina State. Like, literally, they were 10th in the country in rebounding rate before today. They are horrific at rebounding the basketball. Like, it doesn't seem like they should be 10th in the country, but it's because we're not really paying attention when they're doing it against those teams that are outside the top 250 in KenPom. Your question, did we learn from non-con play? If you're paying attention to any of the games besides Kansas, Illinois, Notre Dame, you're learning the wrong stuff. But if you paid attention to those three games, we learned that Mizzou is just not very good this year. That's my full statement. Like, they are what they are, man.
Well, certainly at this point. And like, do you think that this somehow changes Dennis Gates's tune on how he schedules, or is this just what it is?
No.
You don't
I don't think it does, because I don't think scheduling would have fixed it.
Well, I don't know if it would have fixed it, but here's my larger point. We would have known more of what Mizzou needs to work on earlier in the season
Yeah,
if they had scheduled a few more of these types of games in different settings, neutral sites, whatever it might have been. And sure, you might not have won those games at first because Mizzou is still trying to figure out what team it is at that point. But that would have been game 2. It's game 13 right now.
no, I agree.
And like, so you talk about being battle tested, like that's Illinois. They had all kinds of tests before this, and they knew exactly how they could respond, like in close games or lopsided games, whatever it might have been. So like, no, Mizzou may not have shown you that they're all that great in those matchups, but at least they've got the data now
Sure.
against good opponents to then maybe win this game if they had scheduled somebody tougher instead of a bunch of South Carolina State, Cleveland State, everything like that. So that it allows you to get a little more seasoned and potentially flip results like this. And now look, Mizzou probably doesn't win this game
Yeah,
anyway.
I was going to say, you're not flipping this result. It's just
like 43 points is 43 points. It maybe is a little bit closer, but it probably didn't change the outcome. Now,
right.
I mean, we just know that this team can't put anything up worth their salt against top 25-ish competition, which is what both Kansas and Illinois is. Now you can point to the Notre Dame game and say, well, they can't win that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were right there. I would like to see more games like that Mizzou really needs to be pushed to the wire in to see how they can respond and maybe flip one or two of those in their favor, because they will get more of those types of teams that they faced, like Notre Dame, in conference play. And maybe they're going to get one or two of those. But, I mean, we just know that if there is a team that has gotten some pelts on the wall already in non-conference play, that is built up to top 20, top 25-ish team already in the country to this point, that Mizzou can't hang with them. Like they're going to lose by 20 to them. In the 2 data points that we have against those types of teams, that's what Mizzou has done, and we know nothing more than that.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I would like to see tougher scheduling because I'd like to not be able to prop up and have Dennis Gates come out and talk about 9-2 is really a great accomplishment for our program, and it's not. Yeah. It's phony. I would have rather known earlier, I think, that they stink, but I don't think it would have changed anything. But like, I don't know what the philosophy is. I really do not know when it comes to why they schedule this way, because when we talked with Dennis Gates before the season and asked him about starting the season at Howard, I thought he was going to talk about playing at an HBCU and that being something that's meaningful to him. I really thought he would. And I guess in other settings, maybe he has, but they played 5 HBCUs this year.
Yeah.
For whatever that is, like that's the number of opponents that they played. And those are all going to be kind of smaller conference programs. And I have no problem when you're doing bye games, make them against HBCUs if that's something that you feel strongly about. I think that's great. But then he was talking about to get the finances to work, they had to play a road game at Howard. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, the words that come out of his mouth. And so I don't really know if it's a philosophy that Dennis Gates holds because he wants his team to be able to ease into the season. And so having games where they can bank these wins helps them do that. Eventually, you're going to be exposed. If you're not a great team, you're going to be exposed to that. And I would agree with you that if you're playing more of those difficult opponents early, you either you find out who you are early, but also you have an ability to work on the things that made you fall short and try to change them. And scheduling or not, like I think there's bigger problems at play here. But it's just where we are, man. It's just what it is.
Oh yeah. And look, I would like to see changes in philosophy in that next season. You can do it for next season if you really wanted to. Like every single year, more or less, you can fill out your non-conference games. Not like football where they get scheduled 10 years in advance. So you can put this. You can decide today. No, let's schedule tougher next year, and you can do it. I have a feeling they probably won't. If they wanted to, they maybe wouldn't have like maybe they do the Players Era Festival that was supposed to happen for them next year. They were announced as one, but I guess it didn't. It was kind of weird. I don't know exactly how that played out, whether they wanted to be in it and then didn't want to, like whatever it is. Bottom line, it looks like they're not going to be in that next year.
Yeah.
Obviously that event has a lot of questions still to figure out, so maybe they didn't want to jump in with it. But that being said, you still have opportunity to have tougher games on your schedule, and it's just a matter of will they take that opportunity. I just don't know if they ever will.
Yeah, and we can move on from the scheduling because this team was going to be what it was going to be, I still think, with whatever scheduling they would have had. It's just frustrating that part of the whole thing right now is trumping up. We went 9-2 in non-con. Now it's 10-3. But like that doesn't move the needle, and I don't think like Gates is a really charismatic guy. He's engaging. He can be very personable, but when he says things like that, I think you lose fans. I think it's like this implication that like the fans aren't going to see through something that I say that's totally BS. And then when you follow it up by performances like this against Illinois, you do have fan apathy. And if they care about that, I think they should. I'm not saying this with any spite, but I think that's something that should matter. And you look at that and you go, all right, are we approaching this the best way that we possibly can? I think the answer is no, and on a number of fronts right now.
And I mean, Dan hit it on the head. It just seems that this team, I mean, they've gotten incrementally better in some years at rebounding based on personnel. Like they were a little bit better last year, but it seems that whenever they go up against a good to great rebounding team, they can never hold their own. And that again was the case tonight. They didn't have the depth to get it done. And that's why it was so lopsided. All right. So with all that, what do you expect in SEC play?
Do you want my real answer?
I mean, look, here's the thing.
Where would you put the over-under right now? That would be the way that I would frame the question to you. Conference wins.
I would go 4.5.
I would go under.
So here's the thing. Like it, clip me off if you want to. This team's not going over. They will not do that.
The kiss of death.
It is so. Go ahead and do it. Fine. We'll revert back to.
No, I don't think they will either. I think they'll go about 4-14.
No, that's on the table. I would peg it right around that spot based on how they've played so far.
Yeah.
Look, I think they can play better at home against teams like, Auburn and Oklahoma and Mississippi State and Texas, who are right around the same area in KenPom where they are. Auburn's a little bit higher, they're 37, but everybody else around that range that Mizzou is in, like they'll get some home games, and I don't think it's a situation like I get that the whole injury business is so squirrely with Dennis Gates
weird
about what Jaden Stone's status is and what Trey Pierce's status is. I don't know, man. Like I think at some point they'll come back. They were practicing not too long ago. Like they were practicing yesterday. I think Jaden Stone still had the cast on hand. Like I think they'll be back, and it won't be huge difference makers, but they'll play a factor, and it will allow Mizzou to not go over. I don't know how much higher than over I would go though. I mean, I'll be optimistic and say they get 5 at this point, but I don't know where those 5 are coming from. I would be hard pressed to pick a moment where Mizzou is going to go on the road and beat an SEC team.
No, not at all.
I could maybe pick out the opponent and see if maybe they'll go to South Carolina and win. Possibly Texas A&M, possibly Mississippi State, possibly Oklahoma. But I mean, it's
hard to predict though with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, because they went to Notre Dame and they were in the game. Some weird stuff happened towards the end.
It always will.
Notre Dame hit a big shot and Mizzou couldn't recover from it. Exactly. And so like you've got a team there that like you saw a glimpse of what could happen on the road against a team like Oklahoma or South Carolina or any of those other teams that I mentioned. If Mizzou learns its lesson from that and plays better defense down the stretch and doesn't allow those open looks at the very end and plays disciplined and Anthony Robinson stays on the floor and everything like that, then sure, they can get one of those. We have no data right now to support an opinion that Mizzou builds up to that type of record, even a modest SEC record.
Yeah. And that is demoralizing to be saying before Christmas. What does that mean to you? What's your takeaway from that? I'll even give you the high end and say, yeah, 5 does feel kind of optimistic. Let's say they get 5. What's your reaction to that? What does that mean? Is there anything to be said for the state of the program if that's the season that we get? Where are you at on that?
Oh, look, that's disappointing because you could say maybe this is just a bridge to the year where they're going to get that influx of talent. They're going to get Jason Crow. They're going to get Tony Bryant in the room. If they make the NCAA tournament, that feels like icing on the cake. No, I feel like you want to make the NCAA tournament every year, and the years that you don't, you feel jaded by it. Mizzou is in the conference where they can feel that way. They have the resources. They have the opportunities with quad 1 and 2 games, certainly in conference play. They could obviously give themselves some more in non-con play, as we've talked about, but they have the ability. Brenden, they could surprise us all and have a really good winning conference record and be in the mix for the NCAA tournament that way. Anytime you can take advantage of that type of schedule, you got to do it. And so I think if you go into any year at Mizzou thinking NIT would be good, then your program's not where it wants to be. Dennis Gates has made it 2 out of 3 years. So now you've raised the expectation of okay, more often than not, you should be in it. And it's not to say that things have to absolutely change if you don't get it any given year. But if it starts to become a trend, well, then, you start to have that conversation. But it's not a trend right now. But you never want to accept anything less than an NCAA tournament bid when you're in this conference, when you're at this school. And no, you don't have your 5 stars in the room yet, but you still have the transfer portal to build up your team. And largely, Brenden, the transfers have been fine, but not difference makers yet. And so it is what it is.
Yeah, and I would say that might even be generous to the transfers. Sean Phillips can't play on the offensive end of the floor. And
Jaden Stone's been good when he's been out there.
His injury, paints it a little bit differently. We'd be feeling collectively better about the transfer class if he were still out there because I think he's a good player. Mac, I don't care that he scored 17 tonight. He's been a disappointment overall. So, and Porter, I think, has been about what I thought he would be. So I don't really have a lot of reaction to that. But unfortunately, within the context of your team, you'd asked him to be maybe more than what he can be. And so, that Northweather has been honestly probably the only one that I would say maybe more of a pleasant surprise than I thought it would be in the times we've seen him out there. I didn't expect anything. And so he's showed a little grit. And that's nice. But yeah, it feels like largely a C- at best transfer class. And, when we talk about the football team, I think Eli Drinkwitz does a great job of identifying the needs and filling them with capable talent year in and year out in that portal. And it's why he has been able to let it be a lifeblood for his team and be kind of the heartbeat. Yeah, your high school recruiting, but he's going out there and killing it in the portal. I think he's going to do it again next month. Dennis Gates has, on paper, killed it in high school recruiting. Not a one from that high school class that everybody was so excited about. Rightfully so, because, I guess we were told to be, and the players had good ratings, but not one is produced. Theo Baird's probably doing the most. But
that closest to it. Yeah.
Closest to it. Boateng's out there playing minutes at least this year, but that has largely been a ghost.
I'm not giving up on him yet. He's still has a chance, I think. Yeah, Boateng. He didn't start out the
why
year
is healthy. It though? Why all these guys, I do think there's something to be said that when you get all those freshmen and nobody expects them to all play right away. But there are coaches around the country that are getting a lot out of their freshmen regularly. It's basketball. It's not football. It's not the same where maybe there's a size differential and you got to bulk up, get on a college campus, get on a college weight program for a year. Basketball, you can see freshmen make impacts. And Illinois does it regularly. And it's not always with guys that are, ranked as highly as some of the guys that Mizzou had in that class. I'm not saying that come next year, Jason Crow's not going to be a stud. I think he's going to be. He's got to be. Because if he's not, then what are we doing here? I think at this point with Dennis Gates, it's pretty damn good that he's got Jason Crow signed up, because if he didn't, I think it would be a lot different the way that people would feel about him right now. And there wouldn't be wrong. In that sometimes the coverage of Mizzou kills me, because there would be people who would say, well, you can't always win the bragging rights. You lose by 43. It's a record.
You can't lose this way. Yeah.
If you wanted to be mad about that, by all means, as a Mizzou fan, you should be allowed to be mad about that without people telling you you're being a chicken little. I'm not going to tell you you're being a chicken little. I'm going to say that I'm not mad about it because I checked out after the SEMO game emotionally, because I knew that they were not capable of better. And that should be problematic, but that's why I'm apathetic toward this loss rather than, screaming and yelling and carrying on. I just don't have the emotion behind it, Andy. It's not like with Mizzou football, man, down to the bitter end. That season, it eats at me that they only go 8-4. Good season. Not a great one. But it eats at me because I think they were capable of better. I don't know that this version of the basketball team is this year. And so I'm just, come what may, I'll watch them all, but I'm not really expecting much right now. And I'd love for them to prove me wrong.
Well, they have to do it in conference play now. That's their only chance to do it, because non-con's over. And Mizzou got a bunch of wins. Their best win so far is Minnesota. And then after that, it's SEMO.
Which was one of the worst games I've ever watched Mizzou play, including the Kim Anderson era, even though they won it.
Well,
no, seriously.
Carried away.
No, I'm not. See, don't do it. Don't call me a chicken little. That was terrible. That was the night that I said, okay, I know what this year's team is about, and it's not getting any better. And it hasn't.
Oh, well, to this point, no.
No.
I think the fact that the Kansas game went the way that it did really proved to me, like, okay, they need a hard reset on what they do offensively. And
they don't do anything.
And they had a couple of games to tune up for this one, and then score 48 in 40 minutes. They're not good enough to hold teams to under 70 and win like that. They're just not.
I made the executive decision. We're putting Ryan's comment from Facebook on the screen because I think he's fair in the criticism here. Sometimes, it's when criticism may get personal or whatever, but that's not what this is. I think he's right. Gates can't coach. He says he talks to Norm and gets pointers. He's either lying or not listening, because I would say Norm would tell him you actually have to run some set offensive plays, not just dribble, drive, or chuck threes. They don't do anything on offense, Andy. And there's coaches, there's assistant coaches. What are we doing? What is the plan? What is the plan? And it doesn't oftentimes seem like there is one. So I actually completely agree with that comment. I have not seen anything to suggest that this comment is overreacting to what we are seeing. Lost by 43 to Illinois, and it looked like it. Every step of the way in this game, outside the first 8 minutes or so, it looked like it.
Well, so I won't agree that they have no offensive sets. I will agree that they're not working, that they're not attacking them the way that they should. Illinois just was able to pack line around the 3-point line as much as possible, and there was no answer. That penetration was just non-existent by Mizzou, and they could not get to those sets the way that we like to see them.
It's like they do that for 10, 15 seconds, and then when it doesn't work, they're like, hey, can we do the part now where we just run?
Look, they can try to get out fast when the other team does.
Yeah.
They try to do that, but too often have they turned the ball over to stymie that progress. And then look, when they have to spend 40 to 45 seconds every defensive possession because Illinois gets a couple of offensive rebounds, then you're spent trying to get something going on the offensive end and
have some rebounding principles. Don't let that happen. As a coach, I don't think Dennis Gates cares about rebounding. Said it for 4 years. I've not seen anything to show me the contrary that he does. That's all I got. There's no spite in it because we're having the same conversation every year. It's not like I can be surprised and be like, oh my gosh, did you notice that Mizzou can't rebound? This is every single season with Gates, even the good years. So this is what it is.
So now we wait for SEC play. They get a week and a half before it starts.
Yeah, so do we. We don't have to watch them for 10 days. That's awesome.
I know, right? Merry Christmas.
I'm low on things, man, but why wouldn't you be if you watch that game? And if you paid ticket dollars to go watch Mizzou play that game, man. I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
You're a trooper. Because I was not
like that, and
you
didn't get the full experience of this game either. Like it sure seemed that in that building, like Brenden, we're used to seeing closer games like that and all the mood swings of just how the environment changes from side to side and just the very unique nature of that game in that venue. And even hearing on the TV broadcast, they were noting like this is not typical. Like even the Illinois fans are kind of like,
that's how the Motor War
okay,
was
we'll
too.
cheer when good things happen, but like when's the pushback going to happen? Like I think they were even confused by how much they were winning. Like crazy. So yeah, it's Florida next.
Woo!
Good luck.
They did pretty good last year.
Yeah, not too bad. And look, they're in the mix once again for that this time around. That'll be the next chance that Mizzou gets to get a victory once conference play starts. I'll be optimistic and say 5 conference wins. Brenden, I know you'll go lower.
I'll go 4.
It's 4. Yeah, I mean it's about what I would peg them at. Maybe that gets them invited to the
league
NIT.
is lower, by the way. The league is lower as a league. They're not quite as strong as last year, and last year it was, I think, historically good. There are some more winnable games on the schedule for a team like Mizzou. So I almost feel like I'm optimistic saying 4. But prove me wrong. I've been openly defying and saying prove me wrong since SEMO, and it hasn't happened yet. So here we are.
So that just about does it for us on the knee-jerk reactions. If you stayed up to watch the 2 hours of that game, we appreciate you staying up a little bit longer to hear our ramblings about it. Thanks for joining us. If you're listening back on the podcast, appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and stick on this YouTube channel too. If you haven't watched our show before, we'll be off for a little bit, but we'll still have some exclusive content here that you can check out. And our next radio show will be in the new year. So it'll be right before that Mizzou and Florida basketball game on Saturday, January 3rd. So, yeah, you can continue to leave comments below on YouTube and on Facebook after this one, after Mizzou's lopsided loss to Illinois in the bragging rights game to close out non-conference play. Appreciate you listening. Brenden, Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
Even though Christmas might feel, at least the Chiefs didn't ruin Christmas this time.
No, they didn't.
Or maybe they did. It was bad.
They still have a chance to. They still have a chance to, actually.
Yeah, with that, Chris Oladokin might have other plans. We'll see.
I don't think
against those Broncos.
I think that's exactly what he's planning for Christmas, actually, is to have him ruin it.
No tape against them. No tape at all, right? Broncos don't know what to plan for.
Yeah, a heck of a day to be a Missouri-based Chiefs fan.
Again,
listening
feels like you lost to Kansas and Mizzou and Illinois in the same day, right?
Yeah, kind of did.
Kind of did. Way. Hopefully tomorrow's better in some way.
Here's to 7 receiving yards from Jonathan Taylor. That's all I can say. For no reason in particular.
Thanks for joining us on the Knee Jerk Reactions. We'll see you soon. Bye now.